Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to have a go at making some little Nutcracker cakes. Or are they toy soldiers? I'm not sure if they're toy soldiers or Nutcrackers. I started with 3 rectangles. Well, I actually started with a 12-inch square cake that I cut into 3 rectangles. And then I also cut 3 circles, each circle just slightly smaller than 4 inches across. Now each of the rectangles can be cut in half. So these are 4-inch square now, and I'm just going to need 3 of these. So the square is going to be the hat and the round circle is going to become our face. So I'm going to cut just a small curve off the top of the circle so it sits flat against my square. Then I'm going to cut a small triangle off each side of that square, bringing it so that the bottom of it is now the same width as the top of that head. I'm going to cut a tiny bit off each side of the face, or what will become the face. We're aiming for this kind of shape. And guys, this is one that I made in a tutorial online. I'm going to put links in the description to the actual online class because it was a bit of an advent calendar class where I've been doing new tutorials each day, but it's not on YouTube. It's not a free one, that one, guys. But I'm just cutting down the edge of the cake a little bit so it's kind of got a bit of a curved look to the hat. And then also on the face, I'm trimming a little bit of cake off so it slopes down towards the hat. And you're going to do this for each of the cakes. Now I've made 3. Obviously you can make as many or as few as you like. And I'm going to try and do them all in slightly different designs. Again, I'm going to try and match them to what I did in my online Christmas class. So for these, I'm going to put them on different boards. So I've got 10-inch round cake boards and I picked 3 different colours so that I didn't have to ice them. And I apologise if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. So we're going to stick our cake to the boards with a little bit of buttercream. And it's up to you whether you want cake in the body part of your toy soldiers or Nutcrackers. I started with cake in there and I ended up taking it out because it just ended up a bit fiddly trying to cover it. But you're going to cover the whole shape in buttercream. I'm using chocolate buttercream here. And then I'm going to scrape it down with a flexible smoother. So the flexible smoothers are good because you can bend them to go around any curves. Buttercream in the shoulders was actually pretty tricky. So with the other 2 cakes, I just didn't add the shoulders at all. We just went over them without. So for the cakes, we're going to start by covering the faces. And the first one is some brown and white fondant mixed together. I'm going to use the Saracino fondant, and I'm going to put links below the video to everything that I have used. Don't get it too thick, and just cut a straight edge. And we're going to place that over the face part, keeping the straight edge to the top. Then the hat will join up to that straight edge. So you're going to cut any extra off. We're going to put eye sockets in just using a balling tool. And then on this one, I'm going to do closed eyes. So we're going to put 2 ovals of fondant, same colour as the skin colour. We're just going to drop that into each eye socket. Then for the ear, we're going to take a ball of paste, push the balling tool in the middle, and then we're going to cut it in half. I'm going to just push those on each side of the head. And then let's trim a nose. So I'm cutting almost a triangle, but like a thin triangle without the end on. It's a bit big at first, so I'm just going to cut it a little bit smaller. So these are kind of toy soldiers, so we're not aiming for any realistic kind of nose shape. And we're going to do the same now on the second one, but I'm changing the colour slightly. So I've lightened the skin colour. I've used the leftover paste from the last one, and I've added a little bit of pink, white, and orange to it. And we're just going to put it together in the same way. This time I'm not going to put skin colour in the eyes because I'm going to give it open eyes, which we will do later. And we're going to go for a different shaped nose. So I'm just going to roll a little sausage shape, cut off each end, and we're aiming for a little cylinder shape. Almost like a little Pinocchio nose, maybe not quite as long as Pinocchio's nose. So those 2 are slightly different to each other, and let's move on to our third one. So again, I'm using leftover skin colour from the last one. And I'm adding more white, more orange, and more pink. I'm going to put links below to everything that I've used. Guys, when you're mixing it, if you cut it in half and it looks marbled like this, it isn't mixed enough. So just continue to mix that until you get no marbling in the middle. Again, we're going to just repeat that same process for covering the face. And this is the one where I had put a body on in cake. I just made it a little bit harder for me to cover that cake because the body was getting in the way. But the ears and the eye sockets and everything else goes on pretty much the same. We're going to go for a slightly different shaped nose. So we're going to go cone shaped. Just going to cut the very end off. So instead of being cylinder, it's a little bit narrower at one end than the other, and that's the only real difference between this nose and the last nose. Now we're going to fill the eye sockets with some white fondant, and you're going to do that on both the ones that have got empty eye sockets. And we're going to roll 2 small ovals of black paste, squash them down flat, and we're going to push them into the whites of the eyes, with a smaller ball of white in there as well. Sorry guys, the dog is getting really loud when he's snoring. Now with some pink fondant, we're going to roll 2 small ovals. I'm just squashing them down flat, and they're going to go on the cheeks. Now for the facial hair, for my first one, I'm going to use a round cutter that's got like a fluted edge. And then we're going to use the straighter edge on the other side of it to kind of create this shape. And we're going to push that under the nose. This might be a little bit too big. I'm going to use a smaller cutter there just to cut a bit more off the top of it. I'm going to use a round plunger cutter to try and cut out a little notch where the nose is going to sit. And let's just push that onto there like so. Then we're going to cut some pieces that are going to go just above the ears, creating little sideburns. So just cut them to the length you want them to come to. We do the same on each side. Try not to have these too thickly rolled. And then he's going to need some eyebrows. I'm going to keep them fairly basic shape-wise. And don't stick them with water at first in case you don't like them, because you can always take them off easily then and reshape them if you want to, like I did. I'm just adding a tiny bit of edible pink dust just to the nose. And that's this guy. So I do all 3 of these in the online class, guys, in model form. So the one with the eyes closed, you're going to need 2 small pieces of black. I'm going to roll them nice and thin. We're just going to curve them so we get a little arch, and they're going to go on each eye. So the arch is kind of upwards. So his eyes now look closed. We want the pinks on the cheeks again. And let's go with a slightly different shape for the mustache. So let's go for 2 sort of mini carrot shapes or long teardrops. We push them just under the nose, and then we're going to flatten them down a little bit, and then we can curve up the ends slightly. Then we're going to add hair and sideburns in the same way we did on the other cake. And again, some simple eyebrows. This one's just a sausage shape that's just cut into 2 smaller pieces. That's this guy. And our last one, some nice simple shaped eyebrows. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut almost kind of leaf shapes to just give him an extra bit of hair just at the front. I'm going to cut 2 pieces, similar in shape but one smaller than the other, laying them on top of each other, like so. And then we're going to cover the hats. So I'm going to use this green colour. Again, I'm just using the Cerachino fondant. It's quite a firm fondant, this one, guys. So it takes quite a bit of kneading, but it is nice to use once you've got it rolled out. It means I don't put my fingerprints in it quite as easily. So I'm just cutting off any extra from around the edges. Sometimes I do have to microwave it just a little bit just to soften it, because I'm not very good with kneading things. And then you can do them in whatever colours you want. So I've gone for pink, Tiffany, and this green. I think it's called pale green. I'll put links in the description below. I quite like the fuchsia one to go with the pale pink, although I quite like the light blue as well. Let's go with this one. So for the cap, I've rolled the fuchsia out. Not too thin, but not too thick. And we're going to use a large circle cutter. And then we're going to cut a crescent shape. And that's just going to go on the edge of the hat. So this is going to cover the seam between the hat and the head. You can use water or edible glue to stick it on. Then let's just put some little balls of paste on. Let's go small, then slightly bigger. Flattening them down a bit. I'm going to go teardrop for the top piece. Flattening it down again. And let's have this one so it just comes over the top edge of the hat. In fact, let's put some little lines in it to change that teardrop shape slightly. There we go. Now for the body, I'm going to use some more of that fuchsia. I think it was about 40 grams that I put in there. And I'm going to make a rough rectangle shape. So this is if you don't want to put the cake in, you can just do it solid fondant. But obviously it's a lot of fondant, so you might prefer cake. I'm going to use some pale blue. In fact, no, it's not pale blue, it's Tiffany, guys. I'm using the Tiffany coloured fondant for this. And then the pale pink that I used in the hat, I'm just rolling 4 little balls of that, and that's just going to go on either end of this Tiffany sort of piece of rope. I don't know if it's rope, I'm going to call it a piece of rope. There we go, that's our first one done. So the second one, I've done exactly the same thing again, guys, but I've used the pale blue and the green. But this time on the hat, I've rolled a long thin piece, and we're gonna loop it round like this. And then I'm gonna cut a shorter one. It's gonna go above it, like so. I'm gonna go for a big teardrop in the blue, and let's make it look a bit more feather-like by putting some lines in. And this one's gonna go at the top of the hat, just on here like so. You can use some water or edible glue to stick this down, guys. And then a little ball on there. Looks like a smiley face. Looks like 2 eyes, a nose, and a smile. It's not meant to, but it's what it looks like. Then I'm going to put a peak on the cap, or his hat, exactly the same way as we did on the other one. It's just I've gone for the blue colour this time. Then our last one, we've gone for pale pink for the peak of the cap, or hat. I'm not sure if it's a cap when it's a big hat like that. I've created a love heart shape for the middle, and then teardrops gradually getting smaller as they come further around for the pattern in there. The body, I've gone for pale pink this time. But they're all made pretty much in the same way, just tweaking a few little colours and design differences on the hats. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. It was very much requested, especially by the people that had been looking at photos online of what I've been doing in my advent calendar class. If you do want to check out more of my online advent calendar class, I am doing new ones each day. Don't worry if you didn't catch it for the beginning of December, they are all still available to watch. And I will put links in the description box below for you guys to have a look at. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and more.